You're listening to Copy Chief Radio. Get all the episodes and join the community at copychief.com.
Howdy, friends. It's your buddy Kev, and I'm so glad you're here. I have some exciting news and something I'm very inspired about right now, which is a new framework I came up with recently. It is called W.R.I.T.E and that's an acronym with a W, W.R.I.T.E.N.O.W, right now. And it's a super cool and relevant title because it has everything to do with two things. When is the time to start writing? Like right now. Okay, now, write. And how do we write now? These days, in these times, when everything is so different, with AI and all the large language models as a part of our process, it's really changed. I was writing an email just recently, and this framework just came out of me. It's funny because the email wasn't even about writing. It was kind of about writing. I was explaining to clients what copywriters actually do. That was the title of the email, what copywriters actually do. And that seems like something I shouldn't have to probably explain to a good client. But sometimes a lot of people come to me, successful business owners, and they're like, I don't know exactly what a copywriter does. I mean, I know they write the words that ultimately are on the page, but what else does their title, their role encompass? How much should I rely on them for things? And, where does it begin and end with a copywriter? It's a good question, and I'm glad you're asking. The broad answer is that it can look like a lot of things. It's basically, this is your strategist. This person's going to lock arms with you on the campaign. You're going to decide together all the moving parts, how the funnel works, because every single piece of copy has to be uniquely relevant to each piece of the funnel. And so I just started talking in broad strokes about the things that a writer does before they actually start the words, right? So right now, here's what I can tell you. And a lot of people get mad at me when I say this sometimes. They don't yell, "You bastard," they're kind of angry. "You son of a..." It's just more I could see the eyebrow goes up. And for a long time, I said that words are like the fifth job of a copywriter. And what do you mean by that? And I'm explaining, yeah. And now I realize it's actually 7. Let me just say this. It's the 7th part of the process. There are 6 steps that need to happen before you begin the words, the actual words that you're constructing, engineering to create what ultimately becomes the copy. And so when we think about writer, like someone's a writer, the words matter. And obviously, if you're a novelist and those things, you have your flavor, you have your voice, you have all these incredible abilities that are very much about the craft of word making. But it's about the gravitas that comes across on the page. Like that's what makes a writer, the substance of the writing. That is why we say we love a certain writer or we are a fan of a certain writer. The words are enjoyable, but what they're saying and how they say it and where the story goes and the unexpected turns and the depth of rants and asides. I always think about, if you know the Travis McGee novels, John D. MacDonald. This is one of the first things that John Carlton and I bonded over. When you're reading a Travis McGee novel, see, John D. MacDonald, the author, was a lover of Florida. He loved the state of Florida, and he loved particularly like the Everglades. He loved old Florida, and he was very disheartened, to say the least, about all the development and how, the Everglades and swamplands were being emaciated by developments, and it just was becoming one big real estate sale. And so you're reading an adventure story about Travis McGee, and he was actually a private investigator, but he would go on for pages about this issue of how Florida was losing its soul and it was all being scooped up by these out-of-state big money investors and all this, which is still super true today. But it was interesting because it was as if John D. McDonald was almost pushing aside Travis McGee for a second because his first-person narrative, saying, I just got to get this out, I guess. And it was interesting, but you could sense this is a little out of character. Like this is McDonald's issue, not McGee's. But that's the thing about a writer. Like, that he cares a lot about this issue. And so he's going to infuse it into that character, and he's going to be a thing that comes up in several of his books. Hemingway, Steinbeck, any writer that's famous that we know, that we love, that we say we love, that we study, it's who they were. It's what they brought to the writing that made it. And it is no different with copywriting. Anybody who is a writer is somebody who is a teacher, a presenter, philosopher. They choose their medium, sometimes several mediums, and the words are the vehicle that get across what they want to say. And so, a million different choices can be made from there. It's like music, right? Think of like a song. Let's take like a super famous one, like Bohemian Rhapsody, a song that has 3 different major parts, at least, to it. Every time I hear that song, I marvel at the creation of it. It's been said that Freddie Mercury was working on Bohemian Rhapsody for 8 years before they finally recorded it. To know you have something so clear in your head that needs to be said, and in this case, sound in a certain way, that's really unbelievable. Like to have the vision and do the study and master the craft in a way that allows you to get across, and hopefully, which I'm sure is impossible ultimately, but to hopefully get to what you wanted it to be at some point. I don't know that any artist has ever sat back and looked at what they did and said, there's my masterpiece. Not a single line, not a single note, not a single brushstroke should be changed. It's perfect. That's probably never really happened. As Jack White once said, no song is ever done. It's just due. And I imagine that's true of most art. So that's what I think about when I say somebody's a writer or they tell me they're a writer. I don't think about the words. I think about the work before the words and after the words and all those things. What's the easy analogy? It's the clay. The face was always inside the clay. I just had to chip away at the parts that didn't belong. You can look at it all kinds of ways. So, point being, with this new program, I've identified and unpacked all the steps that I think are absolutely necessary before you get to the words. So if we know and I love that the acronym begins and ends with the letter W, right now. Because a lot of times when somebody says, okay, I'm going to write now, they begin with words. That's the first W. It's okay if that's how you exercise the first stage of the process, like through writing. There's no rule against that. But that can never be the final draft, especially if you're writing something of significance, a landing page, a sales page, any good email. You should go through iterations. And so I'm going to give you the first 4, the W.R.I.T. And the reason I'm not going to give you the E is because the E is actually changing. I'm going to change the E because I realized originally it was execute, which meant now it's time to write. But then I realized there's 2 more steps before the words. So let me give you the first 4, okay? The W is wonder. Wonder. And this is the crucial first step in exploring and marketing a niche before research provides a practical landscape. So I call this like the golden moment of research before you have the curse of knowledge. So the R is research. I'll just tell you right now. But it's so important that this happens before you dive into the actual research, the product research, the customer research, all this stuff. Because you have to sit and wonder before you confirm, what is this customer's journey before they even start searching for a solution? What problem do they have? How do they likely think about that problem? What have they likely tried to solve that problem? How important is this problem to them? And in the best case scenario, like if you can get yourself near or in conversations where people are talking about this problem, to take note of the language they use and the theories they have and the biases they have around this problem and the solutions that they're aware of. Huge to tap into that before you confirm all those things, because the research, is now where we're going to learn everything we can about all those things and as quickly as possible develop the curse of knowledge, because we need to know all these things, all the data, the demographics and all that stuff, the ingredients of the products and all this stuff. And the data is all logic. By the way, I also want to touch on where machine learning and AI can aid you really well in this process and where it should have no place in it whatsoever. So wonder, step one, there should be zero data. It's called wonder for a reason. You should just sit and search your own mind, because what you're doing here is you're looking for your own biases, and then you're looking to either confirm or kill those biases as you get into the research. And you have to be aware of them before you can do that. So in research, I don't need to completely unpack that, but you know what that is. And research obviously is now very influenced by AI tools. They're incredible. It's just obviously, caveat, you have to confirm things, and we know this. But man, for asking questions and getting answers in seconds based on everything else that's been published on this topic in the web. And obviously you want to go look at studies and you want to go deeper and find special sources. And because, you're seeing what everybody else is basically seeing when you're asking AI to tell you things. So you need to go deeper. But so you definitely, I'm sure, are using AI in your research. So wonder, purely human. Research, very much data-driven. And then the I, W-R-I, ideate. And now this is where we're coming up with ideas. Okay, so we've got some research and we're saying they have this problem. And this is however you do this, how you ideate. It's time for your brain to go to work producing ideas, right? And the quality of your ideas is in equal proportion to the value of your research. Again, I know you know this as a copywriter, but let me just remind you, if you're having trouble coming up with ideas that feel new and fresh and exciting, it's very possible you have not done enough research. So, like wondering, this process has got to be focused but cannot be forced, right? Build time and space into your process for ideation. And again, this is where a lot of people, I get it, you're on deadlines and whatever, but I'm talking about if you want to be great, if you want to write the best ad you really can write at that given time. I go back to Gary Bencivenga, maybe the greatest ever, would take 6 months to write a sales letter. And on day one, a truck would back into his driveway. He would open his garage, unload the truck, fill his garage with research back in the day when everything was printed, and spend the first 4 months reading everything he could get his hands on about this topic. And so that's how long his research phase was. I'm sure he wondered, waiting for the research truck to arrive. And then now it's time to ideate. And Gary talked a lot about asking his subconscious to help him with hooks and ideas. And it's like, hey, I've loaded all this information into you. Now, please produce something useful for me. The quality of your ideas is in equal proportion to the value of your research. And the reason your best ideas come to you, like in the shower or on a walk, is because of bilateral stimulation. And that means the activation of both brain hemispheres through alternating physical or sensory input, right? Which enhances cognitive processing. So it means you have to feed it well and give it space to work its magic. All right, so now we've wondered, we've researched, we're ideating, and now we're assembling an argument. It's starting to take shape. So what is the T? The T is teach. Right? We think about this. Copywriters, we're teachers. You've heard of education-based sales copy. That was something that, I don't know if Gary Pennsylvania invented that term or if he was just famous for it. But I would propose that all direct response sales copy is education-based, because its number one goal is to produce action. And to do that, you must teach the person why taking the action you're asking for is the best thing for them. We're forming a sales argument, and our argument cannot be accepted if our facts are not accepted, because a confused mind, as you know, takes no action. So you have to test your facts and your argument verbally on as many people as possible. This is what Gary Halbert called looping, and strengthen them as you go. Again, quick story. I'm sure you've heard this one many times. Gary Halbert, the other great Gary. What more do we need to know than what we can learn from the Garys? Gary Halbert would write an ad, and he would go into a bar in Key West, and he would read the ad to everybody. And his rule was, if they said, wow, Gary, that's really good writing, he would tear it up and throw it in the trash and then order a beer, because he knew the ad wasn't done. And the last thing he wanted was anybody to notice the words. If they said, holy shit, Gary, where can I get one of those? He was like, all right, I'm on to it. And so that's just, again, that reiterates, it's not, the words are meant to be almost invisible. And as a copywriter, you use that rule. If somebody's like, wow, this is really good writing, like, damn it, I'm out in front of this product, and that I should be invisible, as Paris Lampopoulos always says. The copywriter should be absolutely invisible in the sales argument. And so that's all I'm going to give you right now. I hope that's giving you food for thought, because the E, I don't want to reveal yet, because I have some options on what E can. I mean, I know what the process here is, but I have different options of which word to use. And then I know the N-O-W, and you already know that the final W is words. So 7 steps before we get to words. Pretty interesting, right? And I'm very excited to dive into this and teach this for the first time live, starting in January with a cohort. We'll do it online. It'll probably be an 8-week course, because I want to give a full week for each part of this process. And I just don't know how it's possible that you learn this process and, more importantly, adopt it for yourself, exercise this process, and don't become not only a much better copywriter, but one with a truly unfair advantage. And if thinking, oh, but man, that sounds like I can take 8 weeks to write every ad. Well, you don't have to take 8 weeks. It's going to take 8 weeks to learn the process. But depending on if you have niche experience, if you have these things, it could take you a week, 2 weeks to do this whole process. But the important thing is this: you'll know what is required to get to the best words. Because here's the other bonus. If you do all these steps before you actually allow yourself to write the words will pour out of you. You won't be able to stop them. It'll be like, whatever analogy of something that you've been kept from doing and you've been dying to do, and it just feels so joyful when you finally get to do it. The words should be the joyous part. The reason we struggle with the words is because we haven't done these other steps. So we don't know which words yet. We don't even know what we're trying to say. This forces you to feel so excited and so confident and so brimming with information and knowing the idea you're getting across, knowing the argument you're making, knowing which things you're going to teach and how you're going to frame those lessons in order to be persuasive. Oh man, the words will be a joy. It'll be a relief. And there you go. And then you have your first draft. So I want to share this with you while it's fresh, bring you into the process. Again, going back to AI and those things, obviously ideate, it's nowhere near that. So far we have no data, pure data, no data, and then a mix, a hybrid in the teach of data and human instinct, right? So ChatGPT and others can really, they're good at this. It's like, how would you explain this? How would you explain this to a 5-year-old, to a 3-year-old, to a college graduate, to a professor? It's really good at teaching and helping you frame that out. But you also have to choose, again, you're the only one who knows, well, who is the actual avatar and what are those demographics? And that's not how they really talk. That's not going to resonate with them. Or for this product and the person behind this product, that's not how they would talk about it. They wouldn't use that example. That's the human part. You've got to. So it's a hybrid. The teach is a hybrid. So I'm trying not to give too much away because it's sitting here right in front of me. I'm teasing you, see? So I want you to join me for this. If this sounds interesting to you, I really believe it's a game changer. I do, because the other thing is, everybody talks about, AI is this, but then we need the human element. And that's all very true. But this is what I think it actually looks like. I don't think anybody yet that I've seen has done this where it's like, here's where to use it in the process and here's where to avoid it, because it'll ruin it. It'll sully it. And you need to keep this part purely human and then get aid from the machines. So I'm excited and really stoked about this. It's all kicking off in January, but you need to pay attention if you like saving money, because here's how this is going to go down. We're launching it actually on Thanksgiving on the 28th. And then the price is going to increase by $1,000 every week after that. Okay, so we want to give everybody the big, amazing savings that they're looking for during Black Friday, Cyber Monday. But it's a $5,000 course. And I can tell you this, when you see everything that's included, it's not just this right now thing that I'm teaching. I think that's going to make everything else you're getting in this bundle so much more valuable. But I've teamed up with Chris Warzakowski. And what's in this package is everything you could possibly need to learn, to know, to use, to fall back on, to facilitate a 6-figure and above copywriting career in 2025. Like, honestly, I would love it if you bought nothing else. Not because I hate you giving money to other people, because it would only distract you. And again, you have to see what's in this package to understand that, but it's all there. Just go look. Everything you need in 2025 to really, really, really make this real and be better than anybody who's not willing to do this work and embrace what it means to be a writer right now. So go check it out. It's in the show notes, the link, and just go to copychief.com or write me, Kevin, at copychief.com, and you'll see everything you need to see right there. And I hope you get involved. Appreciate you. See you on the next one. Bye. Hey, don't forget your goodies. Head over to copychief.com/copychiefradio to get some great free stuff to help you put the things you hear on the show into action for your business. copychief.com/CCR.